Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another exciting episode as we continue with our base construction series. I intentionally left the roof flat like this. We're gonna be needing lots of power to power this thing. And I'm gonna be placing them somehow on the roof. Perhaps in this pattern. This is a B-class EM field. So, even though this is an efficient power source, for a base of this magnitude, we're gonna be needing lots of them. And this is, I think, ideal layout. That could be just enough. Alright, we should now think about what to do with all these balconies and these doors that are available. We can just leave them like this, it's looking good, but we can be a little more creative. So any prefab snaps well to these doors or any kind of wall, basic wall for that matter. So we can create, we can create simply observation towers like this. And it looks great, but it doesn't have any power connection point. You can't connect power to any of these parts, so we need to invest a bit more work to make this happen. We can place a glass cuboid room here, which doesn't look as sleek, but it's the next best thing we got, and it has power connections. So, you see, however, now we can't access that from the inside. Because the wall on the glass window is preventing us. We can place doors like this, but we have some weird collision stuff that prevents us from entering. The root of the problem is this this glass cuboid room is too close to the door, so we need to create a little space in between. Now, how are we gonna do that? Well, we can extend this floor, then we can drop a wall just to make it our snapping point. Then we can connect this corridor, but from the inside. If we connect it from the outside, we'll be spaced further out by this wall width here. So we're gonna create it from the inside. Then we can delete these, and we can now create this second corridor, but we can now delete this first one, and we can create a glass cuboid room here. So we created a bit space in between, and now if we place, let's say, the basic door, we can easily cross into that room without any hiccups. However, we now have some space without the roof here, and the weather should be leaking here. If we stand just right. Or maybe it doesn't. But however, if it happens, or if that space bothers you, you can create a hollow door instead. and close it off completely. Now the weather shouldn't be leaking at all. And we have created the next best thing for our observation towers. We can also connect power to it, and all is good. As you can see, we can now repeat that process all around. And since we have now created the observation towers in this on these sides, which are in between the landing pads, you can think about it if these are to be communications towers for your landing pads, which is purely cosmetical stuff. If you do so agree with me, and it looks better when standing above the landing pads, you can simply switch the landing pads over to those sides, which I'm going to do. We need to delete this one as well. Like this. And you now have observation towers above landing pads. And there's another reason why I did it. I want to connect biodomes to these sides to which we have recently had landing pads connected. So now you have biodomes here, and we have observation towers not directly above biodomes. So when looking from the far away, it just looks a bit better. It would just look silly if we had corridor and another corridor directly above it. So you can go further out or a bit more in with any of these parts, but I'm gonna leave it like this. And for the power connecting the biodomes, you don't need to worry about, because they have, of course, access points to which you can connect the power. So I'm gonna repeat this pattern around in circle. We can make this bottom of the base even more creative. Let's start with the oh, it's here. With a cylinder. No, it won't. But this will. Now like this. And one like this. And like this. And so on. We're gonna make these protrusions, which are going to, I think, play the role of some kind of engine that keeps this thing going and floating. So we're gonna make more of these at each of these triangles. Here. You can even play along and do stuff like this, but engine is gonna make them straight lines. Yeah, it's snapping somewhere. And we're not gonna extend all of them to equal lengths. we're gonna make a spiral pattern. So first one is just gonna be 2 segments long. Then this one will go 1 step further. This one will go 2 steps further. And this one will go 4 steps further. And so on. The final one. Let's see how this looks. It looks great. And we're gonna extend this central one the furthest. We'll call this some kind of anti-gravity drive. All right, let's look at it from the distance. Now that's what I'm talking about. All right, now that that's done, we need to talk about the storage. Now the 10 storage compartments are a clumsy piece of hardware, and trying to integrate that anywhere near this base will just make it not fit really. So we're going to use the modularity of this base to attach a module which will contain all these storage compartments. Now we can either sacrifice one landing pad or one biodome. I'm going to go with biodome, and I'm gonna connect a corridor. And now, I mean, we can create 2 corridors, space in between. I think it would just look better. We'll see. Then we can place 5 cuboid rooms, basic ones. Perhaps, let's see. Perhaps I could have created just one corridor space in between. We don't want it to extend too far out. Was this a glass one? No, this was a solid cube. And now we can attach all these storage compartments. See, it barely does not touch the landing pad, which is, I think, ideal solution. And then we'll think about it, how to make this look a bit better. See, this is just too plain and ugly. However, there are some ways in which we can make this better. Let's first raise the ceiling. Make it a glass ceiling. Now we can do this. See, it already looks much better. Let's do it from the other side. And now we can make these sides a bit more interesting. Let's use basic window here and maybe a glass window up here. And do the same thing on the other side. And now we have created a storage module which looks good and is functional and contains all the storage that we will need. So let's see how it looks from the inside. It looks just about right. All right, let's create some railing. We're gonna close off these balconies. And now, on the lower level, we have a bit more work. First of all, we can place some arches here. But we need to be careful. Above this arch, there's actually no wall, so it won't affect it. However, if we place one, for example, here, it will break the wall above. So we can do this one, I think. Let's see. This one actually helps because it unifies the looks of this. So we're gonna keep those arches. Alright, let's complete the upper floor. We have residual wall here. Okay, and now we can wall off these skywalks. Looking good. Let's go on the lower level. And here we need to have some more work. If I leave it like this, It just looks bad. See this? I don't like it. But we can adjust it with some minimal effort. We can do this. And this. And this. And this. So now it already looks better. We can also close it off from the bottom. But that's optional. I doubt that anyone would look at it from this angle. All right. Looks good. Now let's continue. And we can do the same thing on this lowermost level. It just won't snap here. Let's try it like this. Okay, now it works. You just need to give it some adjacent snapping points. And as you can see, I decorated these rods a bit. You can just use regular spheres and place them around in the way you like. So it just has some more substance to it, I guess. We can also do some railings on these inside floors. Here as well. And perhaps on the top floor too, even though we already placed the arches. We can perhaps remove the arches. And see how it's gonna look like. This even looks better. I'm gonna leave it like this. Alright, base is now complete. It's ready to be furnished. I'm gonna be doing that off screen and gonna get back to you once it's done with a complete base walkthrough. If you like this video, hit that like button down below. Stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.